Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Rift Rivals 2019. LCK lead 1-0 after Kingzone's incredible performance with an unorthodox composition, a 25-stack Magi's, and a ridiculous 80 carry. But this is going to be our LCK representatives for game number 2. It is SK Telecom, T1 with Khan, Clid, Faker, Teddy, and Marta. Of course, the expected roster here for SKT.
SKT wanting to come in as the first game representatives. The coaches came together and chose Kingzone. SKT coming in game 2, and we will get that dream matchup. These mid laners, Raz, they're pretty big.
Yeah, Knight's going to be starting for this one, but the surprise look is going to be Moyu in the top lane. We saw him yesterday on his Glacial Augment Nico. Last time we saw him in the LPL as well was based off his Kennen pick. He's a great team fighter, and it seems like that's the strategy that they talked about before yesterday that they want to showcase today.
Yeah, of course, XX, Loken, and Ben will be rounding out that roster after those first 2 solo lanes that we were talking about. A surprise that 369 will not be there. We'll see whether they have a plan up against SKT in order to try and leverage some power topside.
And that plan is a more intriguing one because if you notice the colors of the little kind of areas the players here, it's blue for SKT. So that means that TOP or Top Esports chose red side for this game. We saw already the attempt to put Khan on the Camille and just get over the line was subverted by the huge performance on the Shy on Nico. And just like game 1, the Nico priority should be super high.
And a coach right now who should be getting his just dues as we're going into the draft of game 2 is BSYY of Top Esports. Because yes, a lot of top laners for him in this team. Moyu for him stuck by him for a long time, and it's because of his deep champion pool. And I keep talking about the Jacks, the split pushing type of champions. I want to see what that strategy that we are looking forward to here.
And if I'm going to be honest, I want that lock cam mid lane. Give me Faker versus Knight. This is a dream matchup that we're finally seeing for the first time happen in professional play. Knight9 known for lighting up the Korean solo queue. People wondered if it was a young protege from Korea. No, a Chinese player who was around the pro scene, played a single split, but finally back and the star of Top Esports. Pick and ban so far. No Nico priority just yet. So many new things to talk about this tournament. The Silas jungle priority, forcing the Sejuani down because people don't want to play the Sejuani side of the matchup. Again, the Nico could be really critical.
Well, I also feel like that Silas is, of course, going to be extremely pivotal, as Clid was the one to debut it here at Rift Rivals 2019. Top Esports thinking about a potential ban, but it will be the Tahm Kench. Both the Silas and the Sejuani available as Nico priority. It's going to be locked in first round for SKT.
Yeah, we called it for the previous game. We mentioned it for this one. Important to note, the Faker's most played recently was the Nico alongside the Azir. A true flex pick and one that Khan could be piloting. They tried the blind Camille. Yes, it did some things, but in general, it didn't work. It was more than doubled in gold by the Nikos, so that's something to think about. And they could still go for a late Camille here if they draw 2 solo lane picks out of TOP early.
Yeah, I feel like Nico has been one of the most valuable flex picks right now in the meta at 9.13. Yuumi going to be being picked up here for Ben. I want to see what else we see here because the Silas has been, of course, one of the more powerful picks we've seen on the patch. But the issue is I don't think it should be over-prioritized. The Xin Zhao, the Rek'Sai that we've seen earlier on in the tournament are great answers to it.
The surprise priority, though, is you look at SKT's draft. They second ban Lux. That screams, by the way, we're first picking Yuumi because that's the champion that people choose into it, right? You almost always see something like the Lux Sivir into it. But they don't first pick the Nico. I wonder if the Tahm Kench ban was a reaction to the Lux ban, so it was all kind of next levels. And I feel like SKT's really happy to find Nico. They probably assumed it would be banned, and we will see the LCK answer to Yuumi. People are liking camping the lane with the Nautilus support.
Yeah, but the Gragas was already locked in here for XX, and interesting to note, if you're an LCK viewer, it is, of course, often that we see a Yasuo here paired along with the Gragas. Not in the case of XX. He just likes Gragas, and they don't like playing Yasuo around it. But the Kalista locked in the same lane that SKT played into IG and lost.
This is the go-to for SKT, honestly, for a very long time, since MSI really just being able to tag it alongside the Azir that has been banned by Top Esports. So for me, it just seems like, why not just have the wave clear of Nico go mid? I would expect it to be being Nico mid, and for SKT to be holding on to Khan's true pick.
I think they need to. They need to definitely try to find him something, as Moyu will be playing a new unique champion for this tournament with his Nico taken away. I think also for SKT and LCK fans, Mada's performance level has been a big query.
Yeah.
So him on an engaged support that all else fails, press that R button and it might work out, is also safer than him trying to take a ranged matchup into the U.
Yeah, interesting that the Silas priority has fallen. Now will be banned away by Top Esports, not choosing to pick it away, instead prioritizing the Ezreal Yuumi lane that has been so successful in the LCK, only in the hands of Griffin, really. But successful is almost an understatement when it comes to that lane.
Yeah, but remember, I don't want to see Top Esports playing away from the Ezreal and Yuumi lane, just because if you see the Kalista, Nautilus, you'd expect Klid to be getting that early pressure early on the jungle as well. That's easy to dive. We've seen it happen time and again.
But expectations are all we have. We don't know a solo laner yet other than the Nico, which is a flex. So I feel like we're kind of a few data points short of understanding really what the identity is of either comp. No Gragas Yasuo combo going to be allowed for the side of TOP. You'd expect a flexible laner here. Kali, for example, is open. Kennen is one of those ones, been around for a long time. Kennen and Nico definitely cut from the same cloth and could just be a lane matchup somewhere on the Rift.
Yeah, it could be that lane matchup. Of course, you've been talking about FPX. They like to play it in the mid lane, but didn't actually pick up a victory for them. We've seen it a little bit in the LCK as well, but that hasn't worked. So not necessarily a flex pick here, and aiming for a potential equalizer in the Nico lane.
In the LPL summer, the spring semifinals, when Top Esports went up against Invictus Gaming, the one victory came with Moyu's Kennen. So a lot of that was based off of his team fight. He was an improvement from 369 when the spotlight was shining on them. So I want to be able to see if he can get it off. But remember, we still haven't seen what Knight's being picked up. He's being left off the last pick on red side.
And the Kennen being locked in brings the Aatrox out of the maybe bucket and into the okay, let's run it bucket, because you don't feel as worried about the Kennen matchup.
Oh, wow.
Going to be Klid on the Elise this time, so they're definitely going to have turret dive potential. Think about how many types of stasis they have diving the bot lane between Fate's Call and also the Elise. Here's the hover on the Lucian.
Lock it in.
Yep, that could be the mid lane Lucian coming in here for Knight just to try and smash that lane. The flexibility for SKT I do need to mention, because they've got an AP jungler now. So press the attack Nico is possible if they feel like running it and putting the Aatrox into the mid lane, something like that. And there's the Lucian. What is going to be the SKT response as far as where they're putting these champions?
I mean, look. Night9 got exactly the matchup that he wanted to be able to throw it into Faker. I think either matchup is favorable towards the Lucian. And it kind of harkens back to Team WE's success in the first Rift Rivals in Kaohsiung, when we saw that the Lucian picked into SKT's Faker.
The only thing you can say for sure is that AP Nico is very strong against AP Kennen. So it's a very good top lane matchup for the Nico. It was seen as a counter pick and was brought out when Nico was starting to kind of flirt with relevance when it comes to the pro level.
Kennen, right?
But it's also the safer blind lane, mid lane champion. It can just wave clear and be generally K. However, this is a pretty dominant matchup for Lucian, especially if he gets a nice start.
Yeah, and we're looking down the lanes and we're feeling like, honestly, top side of the map, that's going to be a victory on the side of Top Esports. Bottom side, Ezreal Yuumi, no slouches either. So in the early stages, Top certainly picking exactly what they want. I think that Klid's Elise is going to be pivotal here for SKT.
And that's what I want to get to, is everything in isolation. I'm kind of with you. I like the TOP side, but everything plus Elise just adds so much with CC, damage, and turret dive ability. So it really is that fine line.
Yeah, a kill onto, let's say, the Ezreal and the gold bearer being the Kalista can snowball out of control. Same as Aatrox as well. Klid is going to be the key bearer here.
I mean, the jungle matchup, it's the hype one. Gragas versus Elise should decide game number 2.
Well, we'll see how it goes, because the transition into a team fight composition from SKT is definitely there. The Top Esports team are on a clock as we move into game number 2 of Rift Rivals 2019. And this whole stadium explodes as the SKT chant comes out. Khan is currently theoretically in the mid lane, but we know that that's Faker.
One thing I love about watching the LCK or LPL before a game starts, they have their own way of cheering for their respective teams. The Jalios and LPL.
And the Fightings.
There we go. And on the side of the LCK. It's fun that they're clashing here today.
Still SK Telecom T1, but you would have heard it's always T1 fighting. That is the famous call. Faker has been the mid laner we've prized for using the Nico passive the most, and Knight does, alongside Ben, get the check and get the confirmation. This ain't no lane swap shenanigans.
Yeah, of course, using the Nico passive in a way that actually affects the gameplay, I think, is what Faker's really, really good at. Making sure that he's the right champion to fake your opponents out in the right way, no pun intended.
Weird. The name does kind of work that one case, finally.
I walked into it.
I mean, he could have named himself Disguised, I guess.
Yeah,
we'll go with Faker for now.
Yep, checking down the line as far as Keystones are concerned. The only one really on the SKT side that really interests me is the Comet being taken from Khan.
When you talked about it, you mean when we were getting into the game and you talked about it in isolation, the Ezreal and Yuumi lane being strong, if they can get the poke off, sure. But Kalista lanes, a lot of the times, you have to just wait and see how the trades go. And they were hunting for a Great Ward being able to catch them out and just throw them out of the bush.
And there are more windows to punish now that the Nico no longer basically is kind of leashless every time she wants to go in with the W. They did add the further disruptions can interrupt it, so is more counterplay available. Again, Korean teams try to get through this. You can grin and bear it. One moment you get your shield, you can shrug off some of the Qs coming through from the Nico, but you're still a melee champion. You still expect Elise to have to provide quite a lot of attention here. Let's watch how slow the push is. Doesn't seem like it's a hard, slow push on bot side, and that makes sense with Elise not in position to die.
But I do feel as though both junglers are going to be clashing towards bot side, of course. Gragas being able to get his early Predator boots, going to be matching what seems to be Elise. That's why both adjacent laners, Knight and Loken, need to be trying to get some control within their own lanes. Should be easier for Knight for sure, so they can help him out for the scuttle.
And timings-wise, the Gragas skipped over getting an easy level 3 on the top side Raptors. Won't have the respawn on those if he's going to play bot side for a while. It does mean he has his Predator boots and both buffs a bit earlier than expected, 3 minutes. However, doesn't matter if he's scouted out by the Nordics.
Yeah, pretty comfortably scouted there as well. Good movement timing there from Mata in that lane. Able to get that push up and then leave Teddy on his own. Oyu is shoving Khan in here on the top side of the map, but something that would be expected regardless in this particular matchup. And we'll see how many turret plates and Kleptoprocs he's going to get.
No.
Meanwhile, on the bottom side, You and Me has to be used. Teddy, a lot of damage there onto Loken. As this Pierce Max first on the Kalista does
This is
really
what I'm afraid of. Look at this. Klid's already in position. Get the wave pushed in, but Gragas is looking mid.
Yep, good flash comes out from Faker there. Good target selection from XX. Gets himself the summoner spell. Klid, now his turn to go for the successful gank.
Yeah, Loken, walk away from it. This is the dive that I was afraid of because Ezreal and Yuumi require at least the jungler's presence to be able to push this off.
Definitely well scouted by both teams. After getting the mid lane, play the next point of call from XX was to counter gank in the bot side. Finally not just putting up that top lane camp like he did against Noguri. We can't forget that one where Noguri was set so far behind earlier in the tournament.
We've seen Elise's sort of fall off, though, as games go on. We had a pretty historic performance in the LCK where, honestly, it just didn't quite work out after a great first few minutes from the Elise. So we'll see whether Klid can actually get a good start and continue the momentum. It's more not quite the sweet spot there from Khan.
That's why the Elise's role has always been a primary focus.
All right, there's the dredge line. Klid finds the flash but doesn't find the cocoon. XX able to stroll out of there and takes himself the Rift Scuttler.
Yeah, Faker was trying to go to lane anyway, so the teleport doesn't mean too much, but nice catch, and still, the Scuttle Crab was secured by Top Esports. I'll take that.
Yeah, and also getting the flash out of XX is huge as far as denying aggression from the Gragas. We all know that it's all about the body slam flash in order to lock down the CC. As Faker moves onto the bottom side, Loken caught out of position. The Arcane Shift has been used. Flash still available, uses it to get out of the way of the snare and flashes it down everywhere on top side.
What a beautiful roam timing to get a flash out of the Ezreal after pushing in Knight. There were those small windows with back timings where, yes, Nico as AP in the mid lane doesn't have priority on the Lucian most of the lane, but can situationally push and roam. That one, super high value for SKT. Teddy's flash down as well.
It's fun that we're seeing this from both Faker and Rookie. Remember Rookie in his first day being able to find such impactful roams both top side and bot side. Just the veteranship, understanding where the waves are being pressed. Faker has a good eyesight for it.
And if you kind of showed this to coaches and analysts, said, what has been a bit off about this game? What's different from how the draft went? Because we loved a lot of TOP's lanes. It's the fact that SKT got into second brush at level 1 and got bot lane control that allowed a Nautilus to roam against the dunking lane squad of, you know, the cute cat and Ezreal. Yuumi Ezreal is supposed to keep you in lane, keep the melee champion cooped up under turret. That roaming has got SKT some trades of flashes, but not outright wins just yet.
And XX now, this gank is nowhere near as dangerous as it would have been. The flash is now on cooldown, and Faker's flash being going to be up much sooner than that will mean that threat is not going to be there as cleared. Volatile Spiderling comes down, he's looking for the cocoon, does thread the needle with the Arcane Shift, was buffered. Clid still looking for this damage. Repel is still available. Marta's going to flash, he had turret aggro, but now top esports are converging. XX wants the body slam as Faker is down here, you and me in, but not going to find it. There's a slicing maelstrom, but just destroyed. Khan will get himself the reset on the World Ender, but they straight up don't need it. Marta just tanked beautifully in that team fight.
So well protected by Faker. Not only did he lead the charge on that one, still got the snare on the cannon, was able to take him out.
And it was just so decisive. Everyone pressed their buttons at the right time, and the heal was important. Watch the replay. It's always a chicken scenario here. The first thing to happen is Ben thinks the cocoon's going to be early. He deleashes from the Ezreal, can't tank, and the cocoon hitting was how they got the first kill. That could have been the end of the business, but then we decided it was a party in the bot lane.
Yeah, just take a look at, you know, Faker in particular, holding them off on this one, and then the immediate response to get right on top of Moyu and just burst him down.
What a trust fall, though. SKT have been on different pages for the most part of summer, but seeing them make a play like that where everyone needs to be lent on at 100% efficiency, finally we see it from SKT.
And the real beauty here is that they're listening to Marta's calls. I mean, that was obviously Marta saying, I've got a dredge line, I'm going in.
Yes.
And they all listen to him. As Clid doesn't steal away the red, but you can see this is a complete change of tempo as we move out of that replay. Fate's Call doesn't find the mark. No flashes available here on this bottom side as SKT still going aggressive. Aftershock doing work. Meanwhile, there's a dive on the top side. Flash from Moyu, but he's running the wrong way. Faker comes around, picks up the kill with an easy Q, and now there are so many turret plates to go down for SKT top side.
So much was happening on the map at the same time, but the primary focus was the fact that Clid, yeah, sure, didn't get the steal on the red buff, but pushed XX so far off to the right that he was isolated. He was able to get the dive onto Moyu.
And I love seeing this from Faker because, you know, when I talk about Caps, I talk about how he can play for his lane, but also sometimes as screw my lane, I'm roaming from my side lanes to get them ahead. He's down. CS, no worries, making the roaming play as we know. He's on the minimap here. Good dive comes through, and with this many members, you're going to pick up the kill.
Yep, OMG, 2 Elises, but that one's Faker. Just throws out the Q all too easily.
I believe the term's WTF.
Oh, well, I just, you know, that's the connotations are rude there.
It's a quote.
PG-15, PG-13.
It's an LCK quote.
I know.
Well, TOP, top esports, know they're behind. They're losing turret plates. Faker's down in CS, but doesn't seem to care. He's getting good roams off. He comes back to mid lane, and all Knight can do is do what you want to do as a mid lane, trying to freeze it in this spot and threaten your jungle. But when your jungle's getting battle warded by Clid, actually Knight's not threatening very much at all.
And also, you're not really going to be able to roam as this Lucian either, because how do you safely move into a brush? You're still an 80 carry. It's not like he does have the cleanse, so can get out of at least 1 CC, but that means that there's no aggressive summoner spell there. As Marta comes around, sees that everyone is converging, I feel like top esports just needed way more vision control in this early game in order to facilitate this composition moving into mid.
If these lanes were in a bubble far more isolated, then sure, the Lucian would have just went wild, being able to keep Faker where he is. So vision control for sure. But that first flash that XX was taken off, to your point, really made such a large impact. Couldn't come back and make that second gank on towards Faker, and so then he was left to be able to roam towards top and bot side.
And my big takeaway from the LCK this tournament, what I'm seeing that I didn't necessarily see domestically and what's different from them in the past is they're doing a lot of plays where they open with a flash to get a trader flash and return to take advantage of it in a very aggressive kind of LPL fashion. Right? They're choosing skirmishes they don't need to take where there's no guaranteed objective to get things to return to. They're basically shaking the box and knowing something will fall out, but returning to pick it up. And that is something that is a really good look for the LCK.
Something we've really wanted to see, actually, from all of our teams.
Yes.
And we've seen it in both of them so far today.
That's been the story, honestly, of 2018. So many teams, because of the meta, have been shifting towards that, people would say, LPL playstyle.
Yeah.
You've been even seeing the MSI champions of G2 adopting that style. And it's nice to be able to see that shift within the LCK. Teams like Afrika Freaks being able to showcase that added aggression.
Yeah. They certainly have been an example of that so far in the LCK, and it's really a breath of fresh air when everyone knows that the LCK is, we're a calm and collected league, you know? We like to get our vision and make 100% plays. Well, that is not the state of the game anymore.
But what I'm hoping this tournament shows, what's finally crystallized, and it didn't happen at Worlds, it didn't happen at MSI, is that the LCK's style is not perfect, it is not eternal, it needs to be changed and evolve over time. And a tournament like this actually gives you something to point to and say, well, this isn't the old LCK.
Yeah, and also, if the LCK was to win this series, right, in
Don't
the
wanna
old
hear it.
LCK fashion, we wouldn't be happy about that, because you're moving towards Worlds where you're going to have teams like G2, when the final for MSI didn't even have either of these regions in it, right? So theoretically, the final boss isn't at this tournament, and showing that the LCK has adapted their style, I think is almost more important than taking away the victory. And I'm not talking about the LPL here, because they already have that style. It's just G2 seems to do it better.
I don't want to hear that either.
Hey, they never beat IG.
Hey, that's true. That's
we
true.
got that.
But, I mean, you didn't beat TL.
Hey,
so.
if we leave this tournament with big stories for 3 regions, we're doing something right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ifs and buts, and there's no hopers, which is what you want to avoid. Let's have a Worlds with multiple different regions that could win.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, SKT thinking about winning through Shelly here, as she has been started off in the soon-to-be Baron pit. XX does get vision of it, but I don't think he's going to be able to get in there. A body slam would mean certain death, as Khan is waiting at the flank.
Okay.
Is he going to go for this?
Not at all.
That was real scary as
A
Khan.
new flank is in motion,
position. Okay, the back does come in, and God, XX taking way too much damage. There's the Maelstrom, but Moyu, we've seen this one before. He just gets obliterated. The cask just there for the party, as XX can't do anything.
Synergy between top laners. Seemed like Gragas is not interested in fighting there. Moyu kept the camp up, so bringing this up top lane and not looking fantastic in that moment. Teddy's already up and prepped on the top side. And how about some turret blades towards 2 items on the Kalista?
Yep, that's going to be all of those plates removed. 13 minutes into the game, and Teddy's going to be able to get all of that solo gold as well, as XX does secure his red buff. But 4-0, this is starting to look like a blowout.
Yeah, you know, for a team that has always had direction, even in the loss versus Dumb1, they were doing it fighting, pushing forward, taking advantage of what looked like a
game looked
Vladimir
like it
top
should
lane.
have been a top win, right?
Exactly, but for the first time, I'm seeing a top esports without that direction. A lot of question marks of what they should be doing around the Rift Herald in that moment in general.
And I love watching top because they remind me of Dumb1. In the lanes, they can just do some amazing things. Knight gets a double kill out of nothing, and you're like, okay, typical Knight. They have a lot of talented players, but when it comes to their macro, I think in the mid to late game they make a lot of bad decisions. What do you do when the expected macro team is slamming you in the early game, is more aggressive than you in some of their map rotations? I think TOP look rattled because they're unsure how to come back in, because it goes against a lot of the standard ways they win.
And we saw exactly sort of that style and what can happen when games get obliterated like that. Just game 1. I mean, like, only 1 game ago, we saw how one player's crazy performance can really change the shape of a game. Just hasn't quite happened here for top esports. And 0-3-0 is making it look like, you know, we're missing 369 right now, Raz.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're missing really much of a call on what to do here from top esports, because the initial strategy is, you know, pick the skill expression, the champion for Knight, so he can dominate the lane. But there is no lane to dominate. A Faker is not there for the majority of it. A lot of the pressure from the top side especially. What this team has been really known for, top lane pressure, doesn't exist for the first time in a long time.
And I'm going to be honest, Ezreal Yuumi has really just farmed it out on the bot side. The priority has been almost always with the Nautilus and Kalista, so it seems like the new school LCK thought on playing against Yuumi is working out, or TOP haven't been able to dominate like you might expect. And we already mentioned the disconnect between Moyu and XX. So going away from kind of a jungler that can always fight to a Gragas that's waiting for a bit more time and a bit more information. The information lead, the map is almost barren from TOP.
Thankfully, I mean, they still have ways to come back through the Gragas ultimate. That Cask will be able to do a lot of work with the Kennen ultimate. The only problem is for the majority of the game, he just really hasn't had Flash to make those engage a possibility.
Yeah, and I think that comes back to your initial point, Papa, about wanting to skirmish much earlier than an LCK team would have in the past, right? And getting those flashes, getting those opportunities, and keeping them on cooldown. SKT, though, these are the classic LCK rotations that we've come to know and love, as the outer turret taking a heck of a lot of damage here. Loken and Ben turning up in the nick of time in order to save it, but the pressure has been relentless here for these guys.
And if there could be a reassuring voice on the top side, if the coach could have a moment to get into the comms, they'd say, get something to happen where Knight is, not where Knight isn't, because he's been roamed on by Nico just ducking out of lane with crowd control, with burst, with turret dive buddies. And right now they have to find a way to get Knight to a fight. He doesn't have TP. He is pushing in waves. They have to find that fight with the Lucian.
Something crucial here. Knight got a base off at a pretty good time with Infernal Dragon coming up. Got a BF sword to his name, getting closer to that Essence Reaver. So I want to be able to see what they can do with that added extra beta damage. Moyu is here to contest as well.
Yep. Blade of the Rune King is online here for Knight as well, and if they're going to find an inroad, it's going to be here. Level 11 was secured as there's the dredge line. XX immediately into the stopwatch. True Shot Barrage finds no joy. There's the repel cleared. Gets himself out of the way. Final chapter is going on deaf ears right now. It's Khan. World Ender. This might be a little bit of a mistake here as far as positioning. Fate's Call comes down. There we go. Pop Blossom on the two people. Faker starting off the fight. He may just end it as well. 2 for 1 so far, as Moyu did at least get a kill.
There's the Faker playmaker, just like the Azir play earlier. It's earlier in the game. It's not going to decide it, but that was a big flank from Faker.
Just an inch. Just so close to being able to get the final kill on Clid or Teddy. Blinking red HP bars that they could not opportunize on.
And that was a difficult one for SKT because they were 4 men strong. Aatrox walking from base and then had to TP into an awkward spot, so comms would have developed as the fight went on, and maybe the replay will be the best indication of how it all came together, because I think TOP assumed they could get a straggling Khan at the end.
Really started with Mata's ultimate. That was really well played because it was Knight that charged forward to at least get some damage, lead the charge. But he just put a note to that one. Even Yumi's ultimate on top of his head couldn't find anybody.
Yeah, a bit of a whoopsie here, maybe, as Top Esports have started off this Infernal. A little bit late is Clid. Getting over here to try and contest. Khan down towards the bottom side, or should I say Faker? As now Clid, it's going to be a 50-50, and it's taken by Top Esports. The repel used immediately. True Shot Barrage only finds Khan. But Top, they've picked up what they wanted, and they'll just leave.
Good map read there. Understood that SKT needed to reset after their hard commit and picked up the Drake on the back end, and Infernal, which works really well for them. The Lucian about to hit 2-item territory and kick into high gear.
Yeah, great disengage there.
Yeah, really nicely done.
Yeah, also being able to reposition mid lane, so SKT didn't even have an option to push mid on that one either.
Loken and Ben now settling in to what the Ezreal Yuumi are very, very capable of, as we will finally have this replay. And let's see where it went wrong for Top Esports.
And remember, Khan comes in under the Faker guys. It is Faker here. Khan is still entering the fight. TP comes in when it's clear it's going to be a fight. Faker's in vision. He's not on a control ward just camping. He's in vision. But the chase is there. The lust for blood is there from TOP.
Ooh. The cast from the Gragas as well as we speed it up. And you get to see what was the result of it. Faker just blew them out of the water there because they were so tunnel vision on the blinking red HP bars.
When to cast is always an interesting question. Are you bouncing them in, bouncing them out? He seemed to be just trying to blow up and get a kill. It's kind of a fadeaway, no button. In the end, it ended up pushing to safety and also leading the rest of TOP drawing into the big AoE from Faker.
Well, as we settle down, next Drake is going to be the Infernal Drake, so SKT have another opportunity to pick up one of these fiery ones. Bit of a bushfire here in game number 2 when it comes to the Dragons as Teddy pushes this wave up. And somehow, Teddy's been all over this map. Feels like in the early game, Teddy was just about everywhere, backing up the rest of his team, but he still stayed even on farm with a Loken that I feel like has just been sat bot side and then sat mid lane.
Yeah, because honestly, from Top Esports side, it's not as if they're playing poorly here from specifically the carries. Ezreal just needs to be able to get to his item. Muramana is going to be coming in soon with the Manamoon already picked up, but he's not being given that time is the issue. And so losing turrets across the board. Infernal Dragon, yes, coming up in 3 minutes, but the Baron buff has already been up, so big issue here for Top.
Yep, and now if we have a look at those items, like you were mentioning, we have the Super Soaker done for Faker. He's got himself his Hourglass as well. 2 items done for Teddy. Khan has his 30% CDR from his items already built. Feels like SKT are battle ready when we're still waiting for that Essence Reaver. We're still waiting for that 3rd item to come in from Loken. He does have those first 2 that are important, but looking topside, Moyu with only really that dash cannon done, and now looking to complete Morellonomicon as item number 2. It just feels like the items are coming in a little bit too slow here for top in their composition.
Sure, but remember, double magic penetration versus what is a very squishy team on the side of SKT, so there's still some opportunity to make an impact.
And I'm on Raz's side because Moyu has something that SKT can't buy right now, a teleport advantage on Kennen, right? So double pen Kennen with a TP advantage can be turned into something despite him being 1-4. He's got the CS behind it and the core items. So SKT want to bring the enemies to them to make this Kennen predictable, and for now, Moyu will oblige.
We'll see whether they can make that happen. At the moment, it's 1-3-1 here for SKT. That's going to be the aim of the game. Nico topside, the Aatrox towards the bottom. Can easily collapse here. Game seems to be stagnating just a little bit, with the Baron buff unable to be taken from either side.
But there is direction and focus here from SKT. Look at the inventory spots here. 5 members, all with control wards, with Infernal Dragon coming up very soon. SKT wants to be able to push in for vision. At least they're doing it topside.
They actually have Baron vision control with control wards and second line of control wards. So they can play the vision exhaustion game here. You expect TOP to be looking for backtime to get Morellonomicon, to finish something like the Essence Reaver. You can win that vision war, and for now, they're going to try the siege.
Yeah, well, Clid, that wasn't him. That was going to be the Shape Splitter coming in from Faker as we've converged on the mid lane. Khan thinking about potentially heading towards some sort of flanking play, but Moyu comes down, gets himself the Blast Cone. Khan's just looking to try and corral him. Another reset comes down from SKT. 4,000 gold, approximately the lead for our LCK representatives.
But this is the real play here from SKT with 45 seconds to spare, is going to be where they're currently stationed. Of course, a few of them going back to base, but with Clid's stationed on the bot side around the Dragon itself, taking double Infernal Dragon away from top Esports is going to be the goal.
And we're going to see the gold numbers, and that's been invested in items as we talked about, but the extra control wards to get control over Infernal with 2-item Callista can't be understated. If you're defending a Callista teamfight around Infernal, TOP are going to have to reach for damage with Ezreal Lucian, and they're very likely to be zoned.
Well, right now, Marta taking a little bit of damage here. They were scared that it was going to be the trade for the Baron, which is not going to happen. SKT move to the mid lane. Khan just walks in behind, zones away the top Esports bottom lane, and that's all too easy. The transition now with extra vision control towards the Dragon is so easy for SKT.
They're just going to be giving this one away. There are no wards here at all for even an attempt at a flank play. So an Infernal Dragon gifted away. Top Esports are not confident about this.
Well, the teleport advantage that you were talking about was actually in Faker's hands at this point because there's no teleport on Night 9. He shows topside free for SKT, of course, but can top get anything else utilizing that?
Unfortunately, no. Khan is also on a flank. It's really Khan. It's not Nico this time. Lane ward is going to be big. The reason for that, Alex, is even safer because they had a control ward spotting the blue buff, and they saw Kennen auto-attacking it in preparation for the Infernal. So Lucian on vision, Kennen on vision. The extra vision has been on both sides. They had Baron control and also Infernal control. You'll very rarely see that at 24 minutes, but that meant that SKT was always going to get what they want, and TOP or top were relegated to whatever kind of fell to the wayside.
Fun bit thing for the audience to take control of. If there was a heat map just for where Khan has been stationed for the past, 6 minutes, that control ward, if you see in the minimap, that's in the blue side jungle to the east quadrant.
Yeah, the outer turret mid lane. Yep, that one.
That one he's been
that's
sitting
Jeffrey
there.
For this story. That is Jeffrey the ward.
The Jeffrey ward.
Yep.
He's just looking for a flank position for quite some time to be able to go through mid. Top Esports has been trying to fight for mid lane positioning. Thankfully, taking out that controller, they need vision. They cannot get caught out in a fight that SKT's been fishing for.
Does mean that side laners from SKT have been that much safer, knowing exactly which wave they can go for. And on TOP, they've been a bit blind.
They're thinking about a flanking play here. Opportunities available. Teddy moving on over. Fate's Call not going to be really an opportunity unless he can get in there. Does have to use the stopwatch. Final chapter getting some value this time as Faker's Pop Blossom only works onto Moyu. Faker has to go golden, flashes immediately. Cocoon lands on tonight. The dredge line out of nowhere, and Clid secures the kill, but Loken is getting so much damage. Picks up the kill on the support, and now Faker wants to find it. The blooming burst, not enough, and Loken, the hero for China, even though he's Korean.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, Teddy looking for the turnaround. Gets it as well. Onto XX, and now Clid might have found himself some fire. 2 versus 3 now in favor of Top.
TV coming in as well.
Yep, looking for it. Okay, Khan gets himself over the wall, and SKT do have control around this Baron area. Such a close fight.
That smite dead. Gragas went in, greedy for a kill, and now SKT can try Baron.
Yeah, we got double smite here as well, considering the rend is available for the Kalista.
Oh, no.
And they're just going home. They have no idea this is even happening.
Oh, they've got an inkling, but what are they going to do? It's just Moyu with no ult.
Oh, God. Half the health bar here as well. There's vision available. True Shot Barrage, that is going to spot it, but they're going to see it, and they're going to wonder what the heck they can do about it. Moyu, do you have the Q? No, you don't. Khan's going to body block. That's a free Baron for SKT.
No need to even take the risk with the Ren smite. They just let the smite do the bad work. This started off well for TOP because SKT split attention, and I thought this was going to be a free mid lane turret for the side of Top.
It looked great for Moyu going straight in, but to your point about Knight coming in and getting picked off, it was the dread line. We'll have to see how it all starts out because Loken was focusing on Teddy, but the pick on towards Knight really caused that fight to go in favor of SKT.
But just like the previous game, the range on Ezreal meant that the punishment on the end was real, the double kill. This could have been the end. We could have been getting that mid lane outer turret and setting up for Baron, but XX saw a kill that wasn't there.
Wow.
Yeah, Teddy just sidestepping it. Martial pose, pretty strong, ladies and gentlemen, especially in the hands of someone so mechanically gifted.
Teddy's highest career win rate is on the Kalista, including Jin Air games, where his team didn't do a lot of winning, so he's always been prodigiously talented on this pick. That 1,400 damage, the last 600 of it, taking down the Gragas, getting them the Baron, and now with Baron, SKT are a different proposition.
Oh, not quite long enough. On the cocoon there from Clid, he had the flash, thought he wouldn't need it. But now Khan, he's got a Baron, and he's got a very dead turret here available for him if he wants to take it. Not going to, as he moves into the enemy jungle.
Yeah, he doesn't have to show himself. They're working with 3 lanes here. Top has to work on something. It would have to be off of Gragas. Doesn't have his flash, but he does have his cast. Where are they going to draw the line?
This 1-3-1 is just working out too well. Currently a 1-2-3, I guess. 1-2-2. It feels like a 1-2-3 because Faker feels like 2 champions right now. It's very confusing.
And it's just fluid. I mean, at this point, with so much control in the blue side jungle, just take a look at it too. Crucial control wards. Top Esports haven't really been in control of their jungles for quite some time now.
Oh no.
Yeah,
another Infernal Drake up
Gonna
in
be
20
spawning
seconds.
in 20 seconds should be an easy fallback objective with 1:30 left on the Baron buff power play. SKT walking up in full flight. Down goes the mid lane in a turret.
I don't know about this one.
The you and me makes you pretty strong, but not that strong. Shape Splitter is a good one there from Faker. Actually gets his Super Soaker across, but Loken gets out of the way. No flash available for both of the big carries here on top side. Even Moyu doesn't have his, which is just so important.
My question was, how desperate does Top actually look like? Not too much. They're going to play this one slow, but they're going to try and force SKT to contest that Infernal Dragon. We're going to be trying to at least fix the wave top lane.
Well, at the moment, it just feels like SKT are taking whatever they want, and Top can't really change that mindset, change that outcome. Top Esports need to try and force SKT into a situation that's not comfortable, because right now SKT just don't look like they've been challenged. They've had a game plan and they've lost some fights, right? They've lost some kills, things like that around this map. But the overall game plan has just been tick each checkbox, and SKT have just been doing that so far this game.
They're just different checkboxes. That's again my surprise to see SKT playing this style, as they've played a lot of skill checks. They've gone for a lot of trades of flashes, try to get outplays in the early game. They've disrupted the rhythm of what was some nice winning lanes on the TOP side, and now suddenly the gold lead means it doesn't matter really that much, right? At this point, you can frontline as double lifesteal Kalista, and Top have to find inroads from an area of the map they control, and for now SKT are just able to play so safely and just not opt into any of those areas.
Yeah, and the Shape Splitter used towards the top side. Twin Shadows now available for Faker, so his spooky ghosts can find out if there's anyone lying in wait on top side. It just feels like Nico in a side lane as this Glacial Augment build is so safe once those first 3 items do come in, as far as being aware of anyone trying to sneak up on her.
And honestly, with how clean SKT have been playing this, with hyper focus on the waves, even if they amount 2 members to that lane to deal with Faker, well, that's going to be a whole lot being given over to SKT that are constantly pushing through mid, would have access towards the inhibitor turret there. So there feels like there isn't a right answer. Top has to play this one patiently.
Well, minute and a half until that Baron is available once again for SKT. Right now, they're not feeling like a siege is something that they really want to go for.
Yeah.
As they move 3 members here towards the bottom side. Marta and Khan with Clid lying in wait, but Moyu's not going to take any of the bait here. Khan comes back over. Infernal Chain's just going to punish a siege minion that he's unable to actually secure.
Clid finally understanding that he can't clear wards that don't exist, so he's very sad about that. Pops a sweep, but there's no defensive wards.
That's the trick. That's how you take down the LCK. Never put down any wards.
You hold on to that gold,
kill him.
get that longsword, 10 more AD than the opponent. Didn't need no wards.
Amazing. I love that Deficio is no longer on the commentary team, so can't get incredibly tilted on broadcast from that particular comment.
You know, we have vision tilt moments in the LCK too, and I think SKT fans are just hoping to see this SKT play in the LCK, because this is, again, very different to the SKT of summer so far.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic look, because the hangover from MSI was a real disaster for SKT. Their last performance in the LCK was certainly something of a turnaround, right? But it wasn't the performance that we really wanted to see. It wasn't the team that 3-0'd Griffin in what felt like an easy match. It was an SKT that still had some of those problems as Faker's thinking about taking things into his own hands. Khan moves on over as well. Contest for that red buff was scary, but not actually going to eventuate.
20 seconds till Baron. SKT know that will be the closeout. That will break the base. But now at least top know they'll get one more fight if they want to opt into it. Trying to siege in mid lane.
Well, all 5 members of top are here. A lot of damage actually in response, but Khan has a flank opportunity. Good knock up, but Knights just dived onto him. Infernal Chain's not actually going to work as Khan able to Umbral Dash to get himself out of the way, but Flash was invested, and he'll now need to teleport to get back forward. Faker finds 3 with the Pop Blossom out of absolutely nowhere. Final chapter is in though. Top able to answer one back, as this is not over yet. Loken over the wall, but into the open arms of the Itsy Bitsy Spider, who's not so Itsy Bitsy right now. Double kill comes down for Clid, and now Night9 trying to get himself out of the way. Ben is on there as well, trying to be a hero here for his carry. The you and me is beautiful to try and help this one, but we got the zoom in. That's a yes you can, as the double kill comes through for the Aatrox.
How does Faker keep finding these moments? It keeps looking like Top Esports are going to find ways to come back into the game, but just a flat no button.
Form is temporary, class is permanent. Deft first game, Faker this game. SKT and the LCK are going to go up 2-0, and it's going to have to be a reverse sweep to stop them finally winning their first Rift Rivals.
The story at the beginning of this tournament wasn't about the veterans, but so far this series, it certainly has been. First Deft, like you say, then Faker winning the game off the back of that Pop Blossom. SKT bring the LCK to 2-0.
What a victory there, and it was just a consummate destruction. They gave over win lane champions to some degree the same as in our first series of the day, but the vision plays behind those champions were always SKT's favored, and we saw Lucian happily farming in mid, getting roamed on. We saw Ezreal and Yuumi losing map pressure, and then suddenly you have win lane champions that didn't win lane, that couldn't win game, and it was just too easy for SKT to bulldoze them in the end.
And what I saw was also just veteranship. These 5 players, when they formed as a super team, it was because they had played well in places before. Really, Teddy, the only player that...
he played well. He was just on Jin Air, unfortunately.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. But they went up against a very young team that didn't have much experience to their name. The top side of the map, they're very well known for playing exceptionally when the pressure isn't on, but when it comes on, you know, clueless it seems. But really well done from SKT to have that moment. You saw them coming into this tournament really performing well and clearing all the question marks that they had coming into this tournament.
Yeah, just an amazing performance from an SKT that had the question marks, right? Out of the 4 teams that we sent here as the LCK, SKT was certainly not performing to the level of first place like it would imply, as this is the last team fight.
It was a really good turn by Top to start this one off. They got a lot out of Khan, but let's watch Faker. He's the one to watch. Clid was in vision. They didn't have Faker in vision, and he got them with the passive again. We see so many Nico players never use the damn passive, but this was the way they got into the fight, and that's how it all went down for Top.
And it's absolutely beautiful, right? Because you expect Elise to be moving like that, fishing for the cocoon, trying to find the opportunity to make the way in, and then all of a sudden, that's a Pop Blossom and a flash, and everyone's snared. Just amazing.
That was the second time in this at least in this game, where he was able to turn back and push off the Top Esports aggression. So really well done. And the turn, that was just the last fight in the game.
Yeah, impressive. Didn't even need the next Baron, as in the end, it's a pretty elementary 33-minute victory.
And you know what? Surely we know what the next game is, and it's the one you want. It has to be FBX Griffin as the final game.
Oh, it has to be.
If it is going to be a 3-0, I think you have to send in FBX. They're objectively stronger than the other teams available. Griffin or Damwon is a question, but I think Griffin's coming out.
I remember in Dalian, the last Rift Rivals, the team that extended the event, I'm just going to throw this one out there, was Doombee's team. It gave them a lifeline.
Yeah.
So when you doubt the team, at the worst moments, they come out and he's able to give them, an extra bit of game to work off of. So that reverse sweep is something we're looking for.
Well, MVP for this one, I think it has to go to Clid, guys. It's just an incredible performance here for the Elise. And look at the damage numbers. I mean, Clid, Faker, and Teddy, all three of them. Honestly, hard carry, really, really impressive play from SKT around what could have been some very difficult lanes at the beginning, as we are going to have Clid as that MVP interview. So here's G-Sun and Brian.
Showcasing a perfect game. And we have our second win on the LCK region. Congratulations, Clid. We heard that it's your birthday today. It must be much more meaningful victory for you. How do you feel? It's my birthday, yes, it's true. I'm very content to the fact that I played a very great game. So we want to just finish it off with a 3-0 clean sweep. No, there have been a lot of worrisome voices coming out here and there due to the loss versus IG. What were some of the things that you guys came up with today? I think it was both skill and draft problems versus IG. So we went over it, we recapped everything, and then we came back today much stronger. So when you figured out your opponent was Top Esports, what were your reactions to it? No, it's the first time we encountered Top Esports, so we didn't really have any emotions into it. Right, so you're only one win away from becoming the Rift Rival champions. Any words to your rest of the LCK brethren and fans? Thank you very much for your support, and we'll keep on fighting. All right, that'll be it for the interview, and we'll be back after a short break. Stay tuned.